A very good afternoon. We are just waiting for participants to join in. There have been some technical glitches, so please give us some time as we fix it.
Ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Please start, ma'am. We're live.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. A great evening to all. Today is not a routine day anymore. The COVID 19 has shaken the world and brought the entire world to a standstill. But no pandemic can deter us from planning a progress with a positive attitude. Therefore, we are very much privileged to have an eminent resource person with us for the webinar. First of all, I welcome you all to this webinar on career opportunities after graduation, organized by the IQSC and Department of Commerce BCom General of Sri Krishnaswamy College for Women, Ananagar, Chennai. The webinar is all about to discuss and deliberate the different career opportunities for the students and its challenges. So I request you all to please sit back, relax, and listen to us. The feedback forms will be available to you in the description box from 3:30 onwards. Today we have with us an eminent resource person, Mrs. Divya Abhishek. Mrs. Divya Abhishek is a practicing chartered accountant at Chennai. She is an All India 46th rank holder in the CA final examinations and an All India 23rd rank in the ICSI examinations. She also secured the All India 4th rank in the International Taxation Examinations conducted by CIOT. She has qualified proficiency test for Independent Directors Data Bank conducted by the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. CA Divya Abhishek is the youngest ever president of the Inner Wheel Club of Madras Next Gen and is the secretary of the Women Professional Empowerment Forum of India. She is an expert in audit, company law, cross border transactions, and international taxation. She has constantly tutored and mentored several CA students, including illustrious rank holders in the profession today, and is a great guest lecturer at various colleges, professional forums, and schools in Chennai. She presented a paper at the National Convention for CA students on Companies Act. Divya is an academician and has presented multiple papers on a diverse range of topics to audiences of over 2,000 people in attendance. He has the distinction of being the first secretary in business development and trade relations to the Honorary Council of Zambia in South India, and much, much more than this. Therefore, on behalf of Sri Krishna Swami College for Women, we are extremely happy to welcome you, ma'am. Now, without further delay, I would hand over the session to you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Srisha, for the wonderful introduction. I'm going to quickly share my screen for the benefit of all. I'd like to start with by giving my apology for the delay in today's session. In fact, you've proven to be true young minds by immediately adapting to the changes that technology just posed, and that by itself shows how incredibly adaptive you all are. And without any, usually when there are these glitches, people might say, "Oh, why did this happen? We are not able to change." But none of you said that, so that itself shows how involved each and every one of you are for this session, and also shows how importantly you take your career decisions in life. So let us start today's session. Now, when we think about career opportunities, it is a very relevant topic for today because we're living in a changing world. There's been a seismic transition in which the economy is operating. The opportunities have changed. It is not like how it used to be even 1 year back. That is what Corona has done. But I want all of you to remember that in every adversity, in every problem, there is always an opportunity. So I want all of you to seize this opportunity today because of Corona that has happened. All companies, everyone who's looking for are looking for students, are looking for minds that can adapt quickly. They're not looking for old people with experience. They want people who are quick, who act on their feet, to adapt. So in that backdrop, this topic is of huge relevance, and kudos to the college for picking the right topic at the most relevant time. Now, typically, when we discuss about career opportunities, mostly from what I've seen, people start saying, okay, apply to this company, this is going to be your salary, study this course, go apply here. The goal of this presentation is going to not be just that. I'm not just going to tell you these are the companies, because in today's world, everything is there out in the open. There's huge transparency, access to data that all of you, I'm sure, are tech savvy. The goal of today's presentation is going to be to empower all of you. What are the things you need to keep in mind? What do you need to prepare for a career? And at the end, I will touch upon the various opportunities that are there, various organizations where you can choose to study or work in. So the first step that is going to be is before you finish your course. So ideally, a lot of us think that let me quickly finish college, let me focus on getting the good marks, let me finish my exams, and then I will think about my career. I want to stop all of you there. This is not something that you think at postpartum. If you truly aspire for a good career, if you truly aspire to be different from the rest of them, you should start thinking about your career in the first year of your college itself. Ensure that you look at the internship opportunities. In fact, even your college, I'm sure, is offering at the last term, they will say, please go find an internship, show us your practical experience. Friends, don't take this lightly. I've personally noticed a lot of college students who come in for internships, but they want to only work for 4 hours. I've also seen many college students who come in for internship and who ask for that extra work, who want to sit late, who want to learn. They push us so much that they want to learn. Always choose the latter. Always be that second person. Don't just take that internship to get that report at the end. Instead, actually work in that company. Understand? Because two things you can get from this benefits. One would be the fact that you're an intern, the fact that you're in college. Any mistake by any chance, if it's going to happen, unfortunately, they're not going to be taken seriously. Instead, people will actually say, sit you down and teach you how to do it. The second and more important aspect is when you do an internship, you'll be able to assess, okay, do I like this work? Do I want to do this sort of company? Do I need to think about something else? So it will also prepare you in a way to plan on how you have to do in the future. I push all of you to do that. Now, for whatever reason, so for many of you here, say you're in the final year of your college, you've finished your graduation. What is going to be your first step? Now, I want to make this session very interactive because I feel like so many of you are such bright minds. I want to hear from you and understand what you think would be the answers for these questions. So, in your view, please post in the chat box, after you finished your graduation, what is going to be the first step towards your career? What do you think you need to do? I'll wait for the answers. I'm going to give you 1 minute to give in your answers as to the first step that you want to take once you finish your college. Okay, someone is saying to find a job. Good one, Mahesh. Vaidishwari Mahesh, that job too. A lot of you are saying jobs. Now, that is a correct answer. So, Aishwarya, all of you, it's good that you're answering. So, Priya saying higher studies, Monisha saying career. Yes, absolutely, that is the goal. But before you embark on that goal, your first starting point is to collect the documents. Now, you might think, what is this, ma'am? She's saying very basic things. All of us already have the documents. Please wait a minute. There have been many cases where students forget to get the consolidated mark sheet. They forget to follow up with the college, especially during times like Corona. You don't physically go to the college. Please ensure as soon as you finish your graduation, first and foremost, you keep your documents in order. Now, these documents are not only required for higher studies, but even when you apply for a job interview, they will require you to show all of these documents. Many cases, please believe me when I say this, many cases people forget or they will misplace some original document, because of which the job that they prepared so hard to earn, the interview that they cracked, they will lose out on. So please keep in mind, this is always going to be your first starting point for your career. It is not only important that you just get the originals and keep it. Please ensure you take copies of it, multiple copies. Keep all of this in a separate file, because this will be very, very useful when you start your process of thinking. Three options. Now, all of you have already covered these three options. Typically, when you plan your career, you will look for these three options. Either your work, you want to work in some place, you want to do that, or some of you will want to study further, higher studies, as Divya is correctly saying, or you want to start your own business. So, today's presentation, I'm going to talk about each of these sessions and empower you in which way you need to do. Resume is not new for us. All of us are aware of what a resume is. But how many of us are spending time on this resume? Not only that, but also updating this resume on a weekly basis. Please remember, when you think about a resume, any company, any place where you apply for a job, or even your college further studies when you apply, the first question they will ask you is, please submit your profile, please submit your resume. So you have to spend time on this resume, and it is not only enough that you update, I got so many marks, but you should also think of the other aspects. Supposing if you're aspiring to become a CA, you need to prepare a resume for an auditor's office. A lot of you have said CA. Supposing if you're aspiring to become an MBA, then you need to prepare your resume with an MBA. And when they look at MBA, they're going to look at your extracurricular activities, your public speaking activities, whether you took up any post in your college, whether you conducted any culturals in you. So all of this matters, my friends. Please keep in mind, after keeping your documents in order, look at making your resume, and the resume has to be specific. Now, when I say resume has to be specific, what do I mean? It is very generic, right? What do I mean when I say it has to be specific? What you see on screen is a Tata Nano. Now, I'm sure all of us have seen this car. It was very, very popular when it launched. There was heavy marketing. Every third corner had a billboard of Tata Nano, various actors endorsing this brand. So you would think, when someone says the world's cheapest car, but has all the attributes of an i10, when the company itself is guaranteeing that, won't you go buy this car? So tell me, in your mind, when you see this, you'll go buy, correct? But what really happened in Tata Nano case was the fact that they said world's cheapest new car was the detriment for that entire series itself. Today, it stands withdrawn. They're no longer manufacturing. All the plants that they set up for making this nano is no longer in condition. Why did this happen? Because when someone buys a car, it's an emotional decision, correct? Notionally, they save up many years. They put that entire saving into buying a car. It is a status of prestige. Oh, he has a car. Oh, he's driving a good car. When somebody else advertises it saying it is the cheapest car, people started feeling ashamed. Because psychologically, when someone sees my car, they will think I'm not rich. So that was the decline for this. Just like how, when the one catchy phrase for which they spent millions of rupees on, led to their end of that car series itself. Your resume is very, very important. What you say on it. Sometimes what I notice is some people get very eager where they start saying different things on the resume, very creative to please the company. Please keep in mind, you don't have to be creative on your resume. Don't cater to please a company that you're applying to. Instead, spend some quality time. I've given you an example of how your resume can start. If you're applying for a junior accountant role, have a crisp, brief 2 lines to describe about you. It does not have to mention what your likes are, what you don't like, what you think are the challenges. It is not a personal document. It is a highly professional document that you should ensure that you spend time on. If you just Google, there are various formats of resume. In fact, I want to ask you all a question. Does one person have to have one resume or does one person have to have many resumes? What do you think should be the answer? Now, I said when you Google a resume, you're going to get 50 formats. Am I right? So, do you think you should choose one format and have one solid resume that you submit to all the companies you're applying to? Or do you think you can have different types of resumes under your same name? What are your thoughts? Aisha says many. Brinda says many. Niveta says one. Tamir says different. Resume. Aisha again says many. I think I'm handling very, very smart students. So the answer is many. Nobody says this has to be a resume format. So please keep in mind, like how you've said, you can have different resumes according to where you're applying to. What do I mean different? Supposing you're applying to an auditor's office or an accountant's office, secretary office, all these offices are very professional, so they don't want to know what your likes, dislikes, what your, you don't have to delve so much into your extracurricular, your hobbies. But supposing you're applying to a creative company, if you're applying to an artistic company or a movie industry where there is a lot more creativity involved, they're not going to be so worried about how much marks you got in BCom, how much marks you got when you graduated. They want to know what are the other skills, what are your leadership skills. If you want to apply for MBA, you have to have a management aspect to your resume. So please ensure when you prepare this resume, have different ones according to the place to which you are going to apply, which means you have to spend a lot more time. And this is also a very, very important aspect of your resume. Typically, a lot of resumes that come, they have this year passed, this year with the mark amount, mark how many marks you got, what is the percentage you got, but also spend some time, have a column called experiences. Because whatever, it is not just enough that you academically are good, while academics is the starting point. In fact, when I first get a resume, I see how much they got in college. That is the benchmark always to, whether to proceed with that candidate or not. But also highlight what are your experiences, what are the challenges that you took up, related to the job that you're applying. And the most important aspect of preparing this resume is to have your contact details. Please remember, unless you give your contact, the person who's going to select you for the job is not going to be able to call you. So have on the top your picture, have your contact number and your address, so that you'll have further communication from the organization in which you are going to apply. And be truthful. I think this is one integrity that all of you have to uphold, irrespective of where you're applying or what you're going to do. Don't put your aspirations in your resume. Don't say I know tally if you don't know tally. While the person who picks you up for the job might not have a requirement, but in the future, please remember, these resumes become permanent documents in the organization. So if they find that you have lied anywhere, that could even cause you to lose your job. So exercise highest standard of integrity at all points of time. The next one that is very common for a lot of us is going to be to look for work. For whatever reason, some of us will have pressure to earn, some of us will have the liking to go to work, to understand how that world works. Some of us might simply want to work for a few years before we think of higher studies. I want to tell you a fourth option where you can still apply for a job and pursue your higher studies. How am I going to do that, ma'am? I have to go to an organization, means how will I go to college? Correct? How am I going to do? The world today, there's so many opportunities globally, not just in India, which you can do from your home. So if you're someone who's aspiring for a work experience, go ahead, search for the right job. Please remember that while you work, you can do multiple courses and it is going to be possible if you will it. So plan your future correctly. Then when you start going to the third year, start making notes. What do you want to do? Start preparing your resume, start preparing online. So what are you going to do right after you finish college? Now, this is this is a story that was a true story that happened in ancient India. What happened was in Delhi, suddenly there was an outbreak of cobras. They counted they had about 1,000 cobras. It was biting and killing a lot of people. So the king put out a rule said, whoever brings a dead cobra to me, they will get 3 gold coins. It was thought, okay, this is an excellent initiative. The king is taking so much care of the people. He's even giving his own money for people who kill. So this is going very well for 1 month. Then in the second month, the king was running out of gold coins. So he started saying, how is that possible? There were only 1,000 cobras. So he sent his minister who inquired what was happening. The minister came back and he said, Your Lordship, actually, they've released there are about 3,000 cobras. People are breeding these cobras. So, what has happened? The king said, no, no, I will cancel. No more giving gold coins for these cobras. I'm going to cancel this. Then, what happened? The people who were breeding the cobras didn't want to maintain them. They stopped feeding them. They just released them out in the open. So where there were 1,000 cobras, now it became 3,000 cobras, which was killing that many more people because they were released and the king did not have an answer. So this is the solution for you. Now a lot of us might be worried. We might be anxious saying, what am I going to do? How will I get my perfect job? Now some of us already will think, this is what I want to do after college. This is the idea of my perfect job. Don't take those decisions. Just like how the king took an intuitive decision to quickly curb the cobras by giving a bounty to the people who caught it, you should not be caught up in your own answers. Be flexible. Times have completely changed. Now, some of you might have wanted to study abroad or study further in India itself. But now, because of COVID, you might have to change. You have to adapt to how these changes are happening because sitting on the back end and doing college might not make sense for you. So please be very, very flexible. Don't take an intuitive decision where you will make a declaration and then you will regret it in the future. Which comes to the most important aspect that a lot of us have the opportunity of. Your own college has wonderful campus placements that I'm privy to. So what is this campus placement? What are you going to do to prepare for it? Right? Because in the third year, you are going to have companies who come down to your college. You've never had the experience before of how to handle them. So let me take you through some tips and points. How are you going to prepare for placement? Now, before you ask the college what companies are coming, you have to first understand from your college what is the process that they are going to follow when it comes to campus placements. Now some colleges have, if you can only appear for so many number of companies to give all students equal opportunities. Some colleges might have, if you get a job in one company, if you accept that, then you cannot sit for other interviews. Now these are all very, very fair policies that are followed by colleges all over to give everyone an equal opportunity. So before you think of, okay, which are the companies coming, ask your college, understand how the process is going to be towards this campus placement. Once you understand the process, the next part would be to understand the companies. And then you practice confidence. So I'm going to cover each of this as we speak. A question that I'm asked very often and that I've also noticed a lot of people have: do you think language is a barrier? Do you think, say, supposing you have to speak fluent English, if you don't speak fluent English, do you think that is going to be a barrier? Do you think that's going to affect your opportunity of getting through a company? What are your thoughts? I urge all of you to respond again so that we can have an interactive session. I'll give you a minute to understand what your thoughts are. So a lot of you, Deepa saying no, Aisha saying no. I think good. Harsha said no, Padma saying yes. It's very correct. I think the answer is going to be no. Language is never a barrier. Now, it is what you think of it in your head. Please note, on the other end of the table, when we're looking to recruit people through placement, we are not aspiring for them to have creative English language, to use difficult words in English. That is not the goal. The assessment is going to be, how confident are you? Are you confident to say you will do it? What is going to be your commitment? Are you honest to say, ma'am, I don't speak fluent English, but I want to join your organization and I will learn, I will do what it takes. So attitude always determines your altitude. Please keep that in mind. It is not going to be language, it is not going to be flashy clothes, it's not going to be how you are dressed, but it is going to be what is going to be your attitude towards it. Now, there is one scenario where language also becomes important. That will be the kind of job you apply for. Supposing you're applying at a BPO, they will request you to talk a specific script. In that case, you have to have a good language to speak. Supposing if you're applying for a role of a salesperson, where you have to be in marketing, where you have to talk to the company's customers, they might expect you to have a good language. So please keep in mind, depending on the role of the job that you're applying for, it doesn't mean for every job you need to have excellent language. That is not the case. Multiple cases where people have studied in Tamil medium schools, people have studied in the regional languages, are global leaders today. And that is only possible because they did not have language as a barrier. In your head, have full confidence, know that language is never a barrier. So when it comes to placement, there are some questions you need to ask your colleges, which I have listed here. Which companies are coming? What is the process? Understand how many people have applied for the company. Why do you need to understand this? So that you know what your competition is going to be and how much more you need to prepare. It will always motivate you to know there are so many people aspiring for one job, and for you to get that job will be a status of privilege. Know the company. When I say know the company, I said the first step is for you to get the list of companies. What is going to be your next step? How are you going to learn about the company? First and foremost, please use Google. For every other thing, we use Google, Facebook, Instagram. This is a good time for you to make use of that online capability. Look at the company's website. Understand what is that company into. More importantly, understand what are the different roles that are there in that company. You cannot just go for an interview and expect them to give you a brief about their company. They are not going to tell you. It is expected that you already know about the company, and that is why you're applying for placement of that company. The most important source when you think about a company is to employees of the company. With your friends network, see if there's already someone who's applied for for that company. Talk to that employee, understand how, what is the culture. Each company has a very different culture, very different way of functioning. Some companies might expect long hours, some company might expect smart working where they won't track your time. So understand from the existing employees, that will be your best source. Once you finish those two, the next stage is going to be for you to understand what are the different steps in campus placement. So first is going to be the aptitude test, and then you'll have a group discussion, and then you'll have a personal interview. Now, this is not customized to each college. This is just a broad set of criteria that are usually followed when you think of campus placement. When it comes to your aptitude test, there is only one word that you need to do: practice. Practice, practice, practice. Only practice will make you perfect. Don't go take the aptitude test as a surprise. Go online, download the mock test, talk to your alumni of your college, talk to your seniors. They might have taken it already. Understand from them what books you need to get to prepare for this. Very important, because this aptitude test is not just going to be a third year exam portions. Okay, please keep in mind, it's going to have a lot more. It's going to delve into communication. You might have logical reasoning like case problems, and then they will also test your technical knowledge. So it will be 4 sessions usually of the aptitude test. So please understand and prepare for this very, very carefully. Group discussion. Now, I still remember when I applied for the first job, I was very, very fearful of this group discussion because one, I had forgotten to read the newspaper for that day, which because I studied all night for the group, for the interview, and I forgot to do that. I'm sure a lot of us are scared, right? When you're put in a group, you don't know if you're saying the right thing. But don't worry. If you plan ahead, if you plan ahead for your campus placement, group discussion is going to be your easiest task. Why am I saying this? Ma'am, how can I suddenly stand up and answer? No, because there are going to be 20 other students with you. You're going to hear their answers also. For sometimes you might be unlucky being the first person, but you can always again talk and improvise on your answer. So even if the group discussion, they're going to ask you a topic that you have not even heard of, please be confident. What the employer is going to see is not whether you're giving the most brilliant answer. They're going to see how confident you are and what how pertinently you're going to answer. Now, does this mean that all of you should always keep standing up and talking? Absolutely not. You shouldn't be that student who's always trying to raise your voice over the other students. Talk when you're given a turn, but don't sit quietly. How are you going to prepare for this group discussion? Most likely, it is going to be general knowledge based. Where are you going to get your general knowledge? From the newspaper that is delivered at your doorstep every morning. So it is not going to be something where on the day of interview you can prepare. Please keep in mind, from 4 months before itself, you all now itself inculcate the habit of reading. It is important to know the news. It is important to live in the world we live in by being aware. So don't be ignorant. That is more than enough for your group discussion. If you know the matter, you will be that much more confident. Don't get into an argumentative mode. Like I already said, group discussion is not about who is right. It is about how people are behaving under stressful conditions. If you make a mistake, how are you going to get back to it? So this is going to be an easier part, so don't fear it. The last part is going to be a personal interview. This they say is going to be a litmus test. So you might be very good in general knowledge, you might be very good in writing exams, but how good are you going to be when you attend your personal interview? So I'm going to equip you for the next 10 minutes to teach you what you need to do for this personal interview, irrespective of the company, irrespective of who is going to interview. Even if you're going to study further and somebody is going to interview, what do you need to do? First and foremost, please listen to what question is being asked. In an anxious manner, don't start answering, don't start doling out other things. Please first understand what is the question. Unless you hear the question fully, unless you pay heed to it, you might not be able to give the correct answer. Second, rehearse. How many ever times you can at home, sit with your parents, sit with your friends, rehearse the different questions that come by. I will take you through the different questions that interviewers usually ask. It is never too different. So you already will have a repository of these questions. I will, in the last slide, I will give you my email ID. You can write an email. I will share this presentation with you. Please don't worry about it. You can just send an email to me and I will share this presentation. So I will take you through some questions in today's session, what they will ask and how you need to be prepared. The next is, how are you going to handle stress? Supposing you have done both, you've listened carefully, you've rehearsed your answers. Suddenly they're going to ask you some questions. Suddenly they're going to give you some problem. You're not an applying for a company that has accounting, but suddenly they give you a mathematical problem. How are you going to handle it? Be very, very neutral. Everybody who is a good employee or who's looking to have somebody, one unique trait that people look out for is during high stress condition situation, how you're going to react to them. It is also a very important test. So be at home, you practice what will happen if a question that you don't know is going to come. How are you going to answer it? Don't try to be over smart by saying I will still answer it. Instead, upfront tell your employer, sir, I don't know the answer to this. I've really prepared. I'm committed to your job. Maybe I will learn it and I will again come back with an answer. That is a very positive answer, a confident answer, and more importantly, a truthful answer that you're going to give to your employer. What are the tips that you need to keep in mind? I've told you how you have to be at the interview. What do you need to do before the interview? First point, don't be late. Everyone looks for people who are punctual, who are committed. Whatever reason, traffic was there, sir, mother was unwell, father didn't come, didn't have vehicle. All these reasons do not sell in the professional world. Please ensure you, in fact, leave 1 hour early. Even if you're 10 minutes away from the company, leave ahead of time. You have to be 15 minutes in advance of your interview time. Because what happened, in fact, there was one situation where an employee was a candidate who wanted to apply for a job was late. It so happened his interview was cancelled because that company was very, very particular on meeting targets, on timelines. It shows your commitment towards the organization. Second, dress properly. Know the company, understand if it's a professional company, go well dressed, clean suits, salwars, iron it properly. But normally they say if you anything you need, you will find in a woman's bag at any point in time. I think interview is not a right time for you to have that. Please clean out your bag, because if you have to take out a pen, you shouldn't take out everything that is inside and then take out that pen. Keep that. All of these might be very, very small students, but please keep in mind this really will create an impression. You might think that nobody is looking at me, everybody is busy, but everyone is going to keep noticing what is a potential candidate doing, how well planned, how well prepared they are, because you're going to be representative of that company, correct? If you're selected, you're going to be the face of the company. So how well prepared and how well you are also equally matters. If you get a phone call, please keep it on silent unless it's extremely urgent, where you inform your employer, go outside, talk in a mellow tone, and take that call. These are on the etiquette side. As I already said, keep extra copies of your original documents. Sometimes some companies might select you on the job itself. If that is going to be the case, then you will have to submit your extra copies. Don't at that time don't go searching for a Xerox shop. Take a passport size photo. Empower yourself. Don't be meek. Don't be subdued. If someone is asking you something, give them a firm handshake. Posture matters. Don't slouch. All these will create the right impact on the person who's potentially going to interview you, and it will make a difference. What are some questions that you might be asked? Typically, most of the interviewers will ask you to introduce yourself. Please go planned. It shouldn't be a very long introduction, 3 to 4 lines. Also, giving a brief of what you've finished and what your aspirations is good. They're going to ask you some personal questions like your likes and dislikes, strengths and weakness. Now, when it comes to strengths and weakness, I had a lot of candidates who ask me, ma'am, how to whether to tell many weakness or whether to say I don't have any weakness. I think the most apt answer for this question would be, see if you have any weakness that you've changed it as its strength. Correct. So if you did something, say if you're someone who is not punctual, say I used to be very late, but now I've consciously worked on it, including this interview. I was well ahead of time. So that is a good way to give that answer where you're showing your employer that this was your weakness, but you've changed it into a strength, and it is an opportunity for you to learn and be better. It indicates so many positive aspects to you. If you say no, I have no weakness, I'm only strong and powerful, it is straight away people will know, okay, there this candidate is lying. They think a little ahead of themselves. So let's please look for somebody else who's a bit more truthful. So be honest. And also, when you think about strengths and weakness, think about specific to the job. Correct. I don't know, cooking cannot be a weakness when you're looking for a job in a serious firm, in a serious company. If you're looking at a manufacturing company, what is your strength going to be? What is your weakness in relation to that going to be? So always, for every interview, prepare on these lines. These questions might be common, but your answers might vary according to the company in which you prepare. The next one, and this is going to be ahead of the year that we are in today. How do you see yourself 5 years from now? This might seem like a very simple question to you, but it is loaded with so many positives. Now, if supposing you're applying for an accountant's office and they ask you what you see yourself doing 5 years from now, and if you're going to tell them, I'm going to start my own CA firm, please rethink it, because if you're really going to do that, that CA might not be that happy to take you in, or he might have some, or you can understand from him what are the sensitivities of doing that. So always be honest, but at the same time be sensitive to what you're going to answer when you say this. If you say, I've just come here for 2 months, after that I'm going to do higher studies, that is a huge red flag. If you're actually going to do higher studies, then upfront, before you, when you apply for the interview itself, inform them so that they're prepared that you're only going to be there for 2 months. Why am I saying this? Because most companies that you apply to, for them to train you, it's going to take 6 months. And for you to give back that value to that company, it is going to take another year. So if they have to train you for 2 months, and if you're going to leave for studying, it might not work. So before you come to the personal interview stage itself, if you are confident that this is what you're going to do, please include that in the email so that they don't have to waste their time. You're not robbing another potential employee of the opportunity of working in this company. So spend some time and think about this question and give the right answer that you feel will be proper with integrity. Role model, you know, I think a lot of us, when we say role model, we start thinking about actors in the industry. It doesn't have to be actors, it can be anyone, it can be your own sibling, your parents. And if you don't have a role model, that is completely fine. I think be yourself and be honest. If they ask you any story, they might ask you, what are the challenges you faced? Go prepared. Because if suddenly, if I ask you, Sharanya, what is the challenge you faced? You might not be able to give me an answer, correct? You need time to prepare. So take your time, and then the last question is going to be, okay, if I select you in my company, what are you going to do? What can you do? What can I expect from you? This has to be a specific answer, and it has to be an answer in a positive affirmation. If a company is asking, go prepared, Tell them exactly your value proposal, how you're going to be unique, how that company is going to benefit from you, and more importantly, how you are going to benefit from that company. Now, everything is done. You've given the best answers you could. And then the employer says, okay, I'm happy to take you. What is going to be your joining date? At that point in time, at the last stage, what some of us notice is people start saying, actually, madam, my cousin's wedding is coming. Actually, I didn't tell my parents about this. So please refrain from giving these answers. Instead, if you feel okay, you need one more month, if you're going to relocate, at the start of the personal interview, whenever you can, please inform your employer suitably, sir, I can do all this, sir. Only one issue is this. Can you consider this as my joining date? I'm really interested in the company. Because at the last stage, when you tell them, the whole process of them trying to get you into the company, you into that, it's going to be wasted, like how you see in the image of a man digging, but at the last end, he loses hope and goes back. At the end of it, the diamonds are just 5 minutes away from digging. And then once this is done, some companies might take longer to tell you. So follow up is very important as well. But give it 6 to 12 hours and then send a thank you note instead of asking, am I through the job? And your employer will suitably inform you if he selected you or not. By sending constant follow ups that might also irritate them, please note if it's a big company in the industry, they usually take about 2 to 3 days. So keep in touch with your other friends who applied. If nobody's gotten a mail, just send a thank you note for considering you, so that way they will remember you. You'll have a positive image in their head and you wait for it. Now, the most critical aspect, what are going to be your job opportunities? As graduates, you will need to know what you're going to have as an opportunity. As I already said at the start, choices are plenty today. You just have to go online to see this and you will find multiple job opportunities. The more important aspect of this is to select the right opportunity for you. If you have decided you're going to work, and I want to tell you that is a very good decision, because you can always start working, especially in this pandemic situation. You don't know how your further study is going to go, if you have to apply for colleges. So if you have to start working, or how can you start? Now graduates are valued very very highly, commerce graduates. In fact, a lot of placement companies, the huge ones, Ernst and Young, KPMG, Wipro, TCS, so many companies, I think, to name more, are going to look for just graduates, because you already have the basics of how a company is run. The chapters that you study, the subjects that you study will already have a commerce background. You'll know costing of companies, you'll know how sales is going to work. So that means you already have domain knowledge of the company. So by nature, your job opportunities are going to be very very varied. The top job opportunity, of course, is going to be your accounting and audit, which means I will cover the courses in the pursuing slide. So first, let me tell you the opportunities. You can think about going to public sector. Public sector is always highly rewarding. Banking, insurance, prestigious jobs, consulting and tax. If you feel you have specific interest towards taxation during your course itself, don't shy away. Look at consulting and specializing in it. Specialization is always good if you are sure during college itself what you need to do. And then you have your financial services, broker services, and your government services. So, very important question. When you look at the job opportunities in the previous slide, how do you assess it? Say you're someone who does not have, if who does not know what you want to do, right? Most of us, when we graduate, we don't know what is there for us, but we are aware of the opportunities. So, how are you going to assess which job to take? A very common question that I have, ma'am, I need to find out the salary, because end of the day, I have financial commitments. I'm going for a job so that I can, fund my family, I can fund my future. If I'm studying further, I have to save from it. So when you assess your job opportunities, do you think that salary is going to be the most important component? I want to hear from all of you. What do you think in terms of salary? Do you think that has to be your first priority when you apply for a job opportunity? I'll give you all a minute so that a lot more of you can answer. I see a lot of answers coming. Can I make CA while I'm BCom undergraduate? Yes, you can. I will cover that. So the answer is, yeah, Priya says it's not first priority. I think that is a very correct answer, because salary is important, but it cannot be your first priority. Good Achita Kokila has also said, I think that is a right mindset to have. Please keep in mind a lot of CFOs today, a lot of bank CMDs today, they joined at the lowest level where their salary did not amount to anything. So more than salary, when you think of getting into a job, it is not salary that is going to determine this, but it is going to be your experience that is going to determine this. Salary is important. I'm not saying go tell your employer, please don't worry, you don't have to pay me anything, I'll work for free. No, salary is very important. But before you think of salary, understand your growth. If you're someone who loves banking, join as a clerk. Only if you grow up there, you will easily go up the ladders. More CMDs, more CFOs today have joined at the most basic level. There is no shame in doing that. Please don't keep salary as the most important criteria. Next important aspect is, because of corona, because of what happened in China, the opportunities is booming. Many companies all over the world have now identified India as the most suitable hub for them to set shop. Which means, in fact, last week there were a horde of Taiwan companies that were coming. Korean companies are coming in. There's a lot of opportunity that happens through this. So be aware. Know that now the world today, India is shining brightly because of the population, because of the dedicated workers, because of youth like you. So be aware of what are the new companies that are coming. You don't just have to look at one side view of what is already there. There are so many international organizations that are setting their foot into India. So make the most of it at this time. In fact, there is a very common fear, oh, what will happen to jobs? The corona has changed. But I would say look at it on the positive side. There is so much that is happening. The world is changing. It's digitized. Many companies are setting foot here. In fact, now companies are opening opportunities abroad where you can work from home through them. Remote access. Work from home has become very common. So your market is not restricted only to India. Your market is all over the world. So please know Corona has not changed anything, but it has opened doors to new ventures. What are the different jobs? I already said, I ran you through the jobs that are there, but salary is not your top priority, but you should also know your salary. Why am I saying you should know your salary? Because at the end of the interview, the employer is going to ask you, okay, what is going to be your salary expectation? Correct? It is the vital aspect of your interview. So know what the industry salary is. If you're going to ask for a very high salary, some employers might be turned off by it. He might not ask you more questions. Instead, get into a conversation with them, get into a good negotiation. You've studied, there are very few good graduates like you. So talk to them, understand their company policy, and keep in mind that you know what the industry salary is going to be. While Rhoda says experience is very important. But as freshers, if someone, even if you don't have the experience, even if you don't have an internship that you have done, they're going to only look at your attitude to learn. That is the typical aspect that people look at. I already said many reputed organizations come for placement. These are the organizations that have typically offered good salaries for commerce graduates, and that is a list I will share. Next question is going to be studying further. So you're either going to go for an employment or you're going to choose to study further. If you ask me, ma'am, which is right? Should I do this or that? There is no right answer to this. It completely depends on a personalized aspect. If you already have a long term goal, if you think studying further after your graduate is going to help you, great, do it by all means. If you feel you don't know what you want to do, then go for a job, get the experience, then look at studying further. If you already think, okay, I think by studying further I may be able to earn better, you're absolutely right. When we're in a very competitive world where everybody is going to be a graduate. So by equipping yourself further means you can do better. I already covered this, but I'm going to say this again. You don't have to choose one option. If you will it, you can do both the options together, which I think is going to be the smartest thing for anyone to do, because you're going to get work experience on one end and you're also going to get technical experience on the other. Always be a learner. Never stop being a student. Till the day you're curious is the day you're going to succeed in life. Ask questions, and the only way you're going to study something is going to be by signing up for an exam, right? When we know we have a timeline, in the end, that is why colleges have exams, because that is going to push you to study and do better. So sign up for courses. As I said, so many things have come up online. So look into it and ensure you study. What are the different courses that you can think of? CA, CS, ICWA. Now, these are the three pillars of professional uh, consistency that India has today, and it's established by the Act of the Parliament. The very, very reputed courses, and if someone has interest in these areas, I urge you by all means to take it up. Now, if you're someone who says, I want to go abroad, if I do CA, it is going to keep me specific to India. I want to correct you there. CA is not just for India. In fact, the institute is now tying up with a lot of global IFAC bodies, global bodies, where they are going to have where there are changes in syllabus which is attuned to the global standard. So by becoming a CA in India, you are going to be aware of the global practices, global standards, which means your employment opportunity after your CA or CS or ICRA is not going to be restricted to India only. Take even your GST, that is also aligned with the taxes in rest of the world. So whatever you choose, don't worry that this is only going to be restricting me to India. That is not the case at all. You can always do either of these courses and then proceed further. Now someone is asking if you can do CA and LLB at the same time. You can absolutely do it. CA has one restriction where along with CA you can do only one other course. So if you have someone who's already finished, your graduation, by all means register for both. But also be aware, these professional courses are not easy. You're not going to be able to just like that clear your exam. It involves a lot of hard work, a plethora of practice. And it is not just going to be that, you're going to also do something called an articleship. It's going to be a practical training. So that's why after your college, people generally sign up, because you won't be able to do college plus these courses together, because you have to satisfy that aspect of practical training in order to complete these courses. So plan ahead. In fact, sometimes people prefer to finish their graduation. That is always a good idea. Even though if CA has a direct entry, it is good that you finish graduation, you understand, and then you have enough time to prepare and study your CA. So it's great that someone is aspiring to do both courses together. My advice to you is, yes, you can definitely do it. So plan your time ahead and then apply for it. MBA is also a great option, as Gomati, Pavitra, all of you are saying. MBA is going to empower you to do better. So I will explain in further detail on MBA. MCOM, yes, you can study further. You can do all these courses. UPSC, another most reputed. Anyone who tells you, ma'am, I'm a UPSC, I cleared my IRS, your eyes are going to pop out, because while the entry into these courses are going to be easy, the entry requirement is going to be your graduation certificate. To clear that exam, that entrance exam is going to be extremely challenging, very competitive. So if you aspire to study further, my advice to you is start preparing today. There is no right time. There is nothing that is more important than planning your career. As empowered people, you have to ensure that you prepare enough. When it comes to MBA, my advice to you is understand why you're doing that MBA, correct? If you're someone who's just thinking about an MBA because you have to study further, because your friends are doing, that cannot be an answer. Understand if you have the traits for an MBA, or if you want to start your own business, if you want to learn management, then MBA is a great option. So what are these indications going to be? If you're someone who led teams and you maintain harmony among them, if you're a natural leader, if you're able to work in groups, if you're able to manage things in college, if you've taken initiatives yourself for the college, all these are good indicators for applying for an MBA. It means you are doing good. It is not just enough you think of applying for MBA, you have to also pick your specialization. When you pick your specialization for your MBA, please align it with what you're good at. If you already know your final goal, then it'll be easy for you to pick your specialization. If not, do a general, take your business analytics or finance, because those two is something you've already covered in your graduation. By acquiring more specialization in it, you will be beating that competition that is there in your industry. Now, is MBA going to be your only option? No, the answer is going to be no. You can also get your master's in management or finance. This is picking up recently, where increasingly colleges are offering these courses along with your MBA. What is going to be the benefit? Now, when we know if you have to apply for an MBA, you are going to have to write that entrance exam, correct? If you're going to apply for IIM, you have to write CAT. If you're applying abroad, you have to write GMAT. If you're applying for a regular college, you still have to write these exams. So in order to prepare, it might take you time. If you feel you might not be able to do that, explore the masters in management of finance, because they're not going to ask you for your work experience there. They're not going to give you an entrance test, and the fees for it is also going to be 50% lesser. What are the opportunities abroad? Now, before I cover the opportunities abroad, there are some questions. So I'm going to quickly take them because it's relevant to what we have discussed. Somebody saying LLB. LLB is a great option. It is going to be a 3-year course, and you're going to learn a lot along the way. Ensure if you're taking up LLB, you're also looking at internship with lawyers. There are so many good lawyers in the city today. So take both so that you have a practical experience as well as you have a college experience. CA, as I already said, extremely reputed course. Some people are fearful of it, so they decide not to take it. My advice to you is, you don't have to have any expertise, you don't have to have any prior experience in order to clear CA. The only skill that you need to have is hard work. If you can work hard and ensure you consistently do that, plan ahead for your course, and you can definitely achieve it. Anyone who's aspiring for CA, CS, ICWA, please, you can feel free to get in touch with me, drop an email. I'm happy to guide you through the process. What are some opportunities abroad? Now, do you think only MBA opportunities are there abroad? Absolutely not. There are so many courses that are there which will align with what you have already studied through your commerce graduation. You have to be aware of these courses. Due to paucity of time, I'm not going to run through each course in detail, but you can always take the presentation from me by sending me an email and understand what these different courses are. There are also very, very successful people who have come out as who have just done your commerce graduation and studied a bit further, which goes to prove that you don't have to have a fancy MBA, you don't have to go abroad in order to succeed in life. With your basic knowledge, hard work, and consistencies, you can definitely rise up to the ladders in any organization. Take your Divya Suryaveda. She's the women CFO, first woman CFO of General Motors, and then you have your Sitaram, who's the CFO of Doha Bank. Opportunities in Middle East are always plenty for graduates from BCom and commerce. So explore it. It doesn't necessarily have to be only commerce. You have Amartya Sen, who did economics in just Kolkata. He didn't go to university after that, but he won the Nobel Prize. So what I want to drive home is, it is not just important that you do in reputed organizations, that you build your degree, but what is more important is to choose the right career path for you. Now, if you ask me today, ma'am, what is the right career path? There is no definitive answer. Just plunge yourself. When you get into a work, don't keep worrying, is this going to be the right work for me? Put your full head into it, give your best. Over time, you'll either really excel and you'll know you'll be interested. Otherwise, you will just know what the other job you want to have. Now, what you see on screen is the dairy milk bar. While I don't want to tempt you into eating dairy milk at this time, the goal behind this is to tell you a quick story. 4 years back, what happened with dairy milk was, there were reports that they found worms in the dairy milk. There was a huge hue and cry for this, and in fact, it made into media. After 1 month, they did a report and then they clarified, saying, no, no, it was not the fault of dairy milk. The person who stored it in India had rats in it. But the damage was already done. Everybody was scared because dairy milk was something they bought for their children. They thought it was going to be safe. Suddenly, you see this and you stop buying it. What did dairy milk do? Because of that failure, did dairy milk stop production? The answer is no. They rose to the situation. What they did was, first they did that gold foil wrapper, where psychologically for person who's opening it, it will be tightly sealed. So you know worms couldn't have gone in. Second important thing they did was, they took Amitabh Bachchan. He was the face, he was a huge star in India at that time and still is. So they made him endorse. They made Amitabh Bachchan go to their factories, hand out a bar to his granddaughter. Like that, they repose confidence. So just like how dairy milk rose to that occasion when there's a huge problem, today they're the biggest company that you know that are selling, right? So you have to upskill yourself. It is not only enough that you clear exams, that you prepare for these interviews. Please ensure you have some practical experience. Try, go to a bank yourself, fill in the deposit challans, understand how to do it, write out checks, look into digitization. Today's world, nobody is meeting anybody else. There is so much that is happening online. So sign up for courses. There are some certificate courses, free online courses that are there at your hand today. From sitting from home, you can just go into these sites, choose the course of your preference, take it up, learn a lot of new things. Every day has to be a learning. It is not specific, it does not have to be a subject matter. Get into vocational learning and be and improve yourselves. Upskilling is very, very, very important. How you arise to an occasion is even more important. Last aspect is be your own boss. It typically means be your own boss. If you feel you are someone who wants to get into becoming an entrepreneur after college, if you want to start something, that's a very, very bold move. In fact, they say the road less traveled is going to be the road that is most successful. While all your friends are going to be looking to do study further, to work in organizations, to get into the industry, if you feel you're someone who wants to start on your own, excellent idea. I urge all of you to start. India has come up with so many initiatives for startups. Understand what they are. Have a definitive plan. As long as you have a solid business plan that you feel is going to work out for you, there's no harm in trying. In fact, while you're in college itself, give it a shot. Most of the big companies, be it your Facebook, they were all started out of a garage in their own when they were all pursuing college. So it's a never a wrong time to start your own business. Ensure that you take that plunge and you will do better. Now, so this was my take on the opportunities that you're going to have in your career. I'm going to quickly type in my email ID, so whoever wants to take this presentation from me or has any doubts on this can always get in touch. If you have any questions now, I'm sorry about the delay in setting up the session. I think there was some technical glitch, but I appreciate all of you for being patient and still joining the session in large numbers. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take that from you. You can just type it out in the chat window and I'll take up those questions. So there is one question from Shanti who says, ma'am, shall we invest in stock markets and also can we earn and acquire knowledge? It will also be useful during this pandemic situation. Very good question, Shanti. Yes, stock market is always a good idea. How you're going to get the knowledge is one, you have already covered it through your financial sessions in BCom, but also, like I said, go online. If there is a company in which you want to invest in, read their balance sheet, read about the company, have adequate comfort. If you're someone who's just starting out on the stock market, don't take huge gambles. Start small. See if you're able to keep up with it. There's no point putting in all your savings and not being able to reap it back, correct? So ensure that you start small and have adequate understanding from there. A lot of thank yous. I should thank all of you for being really bright students, adapting, proving to be excellent in all respects, and so many good answers from all of you also through the session, right answers. And if you have any other questions, I'm happy to take it. Somebody's asked about CS. Yes, CS is a very good course. If you're someone who has inclination towards secretarial practices, you will have a huge role to play in companies. In fact, with Companies Act 2013, many companies are mandatorily supposed to have CS people in them. So there's huge demand for good qualified CS candidates. Go take the course. CS also has a 15-month practical training. Like I said, CA has a 3-year articleship. So ensure you factor that in, ensure you know what they are, and then you can take it up. Thank you so much. Thank you. Ma'am, I think someone has asked, can you give me more information? Yes, definitely. Just send me an email. I've sent you my email above. You can just send me an email and I'll share the presentation with you. More than happy. I think with this, we have also crossed our time limit. So I'm going to hand it back to Shresha ma'am. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for an overwhelming webinar. Now I think we have gained an in-depth awareness, knowledge, and also given the answers to all the apprehensions of our parents, teachers, and students as well. Because a lot of examination have not been conducted, and the career decision that could have taken 6 months back could not be the same now. So once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for such an energetic session. Now it's the time for vote of thanks. We are extremely thankful to our management members, our Dean, Madam Dr. R. Revati, the Principal, Madam Dr. R. Geeta Rani, and the Organizing Secretary and the Head of the Department, BCom General, Madam Dr. J. Radha, for their support in all our endeavor. A special mention to all our participants of this webinar who have joined in this interactive YouTube live stream. We are sure today's webinar have been beneficial to all of you once again. I remind you, please fill up your feedback forms. Thank you once again. Have a good day. Stay home, stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.